Hello, folks. I want to welcome you back in to the Lore of the Ring, where you've been joining me on my journey, reliving and reviewing some of these classic pay-per-views and premium live events, as they're known now, from the past. I want to thank you for tuning in to the last episode, WCW Fall Brawl 97. Hope you all enjoyed that. And today, we're going to wrap up the month of September by doing our first ever NXT event. NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way took place in September 9 years ago, 2014. So, let's get into it. First of all, I want to say that when I started doing my research for this, I always, usually start about a month out. I'll pick a month before the event and start rewatching the television episodes that led up to the event. So on this one, I started with the August 7th edition of NXT, and man, it opened with some things that I had just completely forgot about. First of all, Jason Jordan and Ty Dillinger being a tag team, Ty Dillinger aka Shawn Spears being a tag team, being tag partners, forgot about that. Secondly, Brandy Rhodes doing the ring announcing. She was, her and JoJo were the NXT announcers. That was, let's talk about the memories unlocked. Now also, just to kind of set the tone for where we're at in time, on the August 21st episode of NXT, Triple H announced that the next TakeOver event would be a 2-hour live event unlike what we've seen before. The NXT title, the NXT women's title, and tag titles will all be on the line. He also announced that the brand new NXT general manager would oversee it and that the new GM would arrive on the next week's episode of NXT on August the 28th. Now, on the August 28th episode, it was William Regal that was revealed to be the new GM, and his first order of business was announcing the main event of the TakeOver. He requested that Adrian Neville, the NXT champion, come out and join him in the ring. Then, as he was about to announce the match, Tyson Kidd came out. Tyson said that yes, he would accept. And then Tyler Breeze came out and said that everyone, including Tyson's wife, Natalya, deserves a shot before him. Then Sami Zayn entered the mix and said that he's more deserving. Neville said he knows who he'd like to face. Tyson Kidd, and Tyler Breeze, and Sami Zayn. And Regal accepted that proposal, and he made the main event of the Fatal 4-Way match, giving us the name of the event, NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. So let's set the tone for the rest of the card, the rivalries, the storylines that we had going on for the other matches. Match 1 was Lucha Dragons versus The Ascension. The Ascension was unstoppable during this era. They won the titles from Adrian Neville and Corey Graves. Yep, that's right. You heard me correctly. Adrian Neville and Corey Graves were NXT Tag Champs about a year ago. NXT had a tag team tournament to determine the number one contenders starting on the August 7th episode of NXT. The Lucha Dragons would defeat Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy in round 1. In round 2, they beat Sami Zayn and Adam Rose. And then they would defeat the Vaudevillains in the finals to win the tournament and earn the title shot at TakeOver. Other teams in that tournament were Enzo Amore and Big Cass, Jason Jordan and Ty Dillinger, Mojo Rawley and Bull Dempsey, keep that one in mind, and Tyson Kidd and Justin Gabriel. Match 2, Enzo Amore versus Sylvester Lefort in a hair versus hair match. On the August 21st episode of NXT, Enzo and Big Cass faced the Vaudevillains in the tag team tournament, and after they lost, as if that wasn't bad enough, the Legionnaires attacked Enzo and shaved part of his beard with some clippers, reigniting their feud that they had really for the past few months. Later in the show, Enzo challenged Lefort to a hair versus hair match at TakeOver. Then on the Go Home episode of NXT on September the 4th, Enzo and Cass recorded a message on a cell phone for Lefort. They went to visit Carmella at the hair salon, and they got a big bucket of hair removal cream. Now, they accidentally spilled that cream all over a dog, and it was a funny spot. Nice comedic. It was a really classic Enzo and Cass, part of what helped get them over in NXT. Sylvester Lefort's tag team partner, Marcus Louis, lost a singles match to Sami Zayn. Then Enzo and Cass chased the Legionnaires off with that bucket of hair removal cream. So they're really hyping up that hair versus hair. Match 3, remember how I said Bull Dempsey and Mojo Rawley were partners? Well, they were partners in the NXT Tag Team Tournament, and they lost to the Vaudevillains on the August 14th episode of NXT. Mojo tagged himself into the match when Bull wasn't expected it, and Bull kind of had some momentum going, but he was tagged out by Mojo and then proceeded to lose the match. So after the match, Bull attacked Mojo and hit him with the bulldozer. And then Mojo would get his chance at revenge at TakeOver. Short, efficient, to the point build for that match. Next match, semi-main event, Charlotte versus Bayley for the NXT Women's title. Bayley beat Sasha Banks on the August 14th episode of NXT to become the number one contender. They'd been building Bayley as this ultimate underdog who just keeps on winning. After Charlotte told Bayley that she was in over her head and then she refused to shake Bayley's hand on the August 28th episode of NXT, Bayley came out after Charlotte's match on the 9-4 episode and told Charlotte that since she refused to shake her hand and take her seriously, she's seriously taken her title at TakeOver. Charlotte shoved Bayley, who responded by giving Charlotte the Bayley to belly, and so it was a strong build for Bayley going into TakeOver. She looked good. The main event, like I mentioned, Adrian Neville, the champion, versus Tyson Kidd versus Sami Zayn versus Tyler Breeze, fatal four-way match. This rivalry really started back in May. Breeze, Zayn, and Kidd finished a 20-man battle royal for the number one contender spot in a tie. Then on the May 15th episode, Kidd defeated Zayn and Breeze in a triple threat match to get the title shot at the very first NXT TakeOver. Kidd would lose the match, but look strong in it, and Neville retained. Also at that TakeOver, Breeze would defeat Zayn with some underhanded tactics. So the three were really vying for the next shot at the gold. Tyler Breeze faced champion Adrian Neville for the belt on the August 14th episode of NXT, and Tyson Kidd attacked Neville during the match, resulting in a disqualification. Sami Zayn came out to Neville's defense and evened the odds. Then after the main event for TakeOver was announced on the August 28th episode, Sami Zayn tagged with Neville against Tyson Kidd and Tyler Breeze. Tyson Kidd ended up pinning Neville to get the win for his team, and the show ended with Sami holding the NXT title on his knees in the ring. So here we are. That's the build. That's the card. Let's get into it. NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way took place September 11th, 2014 at Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida, which is a suburb of Orlando. We had over 400 fans on hand in a packed house. They filled the venue for the second ever NXT TakeOver event. We've got Todd Phillips, Byron Saxton, and Renee Young on commentary. The show opens with the Lucha Bros music hitting, so our tag title match is first. The Ascension are out next, and you almost forget this version of them, or at least I do. They were so dominant in NXT. Then they got to the main roster, and once they're called up, they were forced to, paint their faces, and the fans really just didn't buy them. They were seen as a Demolition or Legion of Doom ripoff, and they just never got over. It was sad. They had the upper hand early in this match. Sin Cara did reverse a powerbomb into a Hurricane Rana on Victor, but he was unable to make the tag. Connor tagged in and immediately knocked Kalisto off the apron, so we got some good heel tactics there. Kalisto did end up getting the hot tag, though, and he was instantly electric in this match. He was fast-paced and everywhere, including attempting a crossbody over the top rope to the floor, but the Ascension caught him and threw him backwards over their head. Then Sin Cara hit a suicide dive on them, though, to maintain the advantage for the Lucha Dragons. The Ascension set up in the corners to hit their Fall of Man finisher, but Sin Cara grabbed Connor and pulled him down from the outside of the ring. Then Kalisto hit the Salida del Sol to get the pinfall victory. The 344-day title reign for the Ascension was over, and we have new champs. The match went 7 minutes, 48 seconds, and Dave Meltzer would give it 2.25 stars in the Wrestling Observer. Solid match, good opener. Renee Young met the new champs at the top of the entrance ramp for a quick little impromptu interview after the match, and the new champs were hyped and winded, noticeably winded, out of breath. Next, Todd Phillips says that they want to take a moment to reflect on the 9/11 tragedy, and then they cut to a video package from Neville for our main event. Some odd timing there. Just really, take a moment to reflect on 9/11 and all those involved. Here's Neville. It was just weird. Next is something, I don't know, even more odd. So I went through the card and the rivalries before I got to the show here, but this one I didn't mention because this one had no build. CJ Parker, now known as Juice Robinson, if you watch AEW, if you're familiar with Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling and what Juice Robinson has done since NXT, you almost forget that he was in NXT. But he went by CJ Parker. And he's making his way to the ring where he's going to face Baron Corbin, who's already in the ring. And CJ Parker's gimmick at this time was like this ultra hippie. He had dreadlocks. Think Daniel Bryan's the Planet's Champion gimmick, but just way worse. He had begged NXT GM William Regal for a match, so Regal obliged and gave him one with Corbin here. Like I said, there was no build, and honestly, this was pointless. I mean, it was Corbin's official NXT debut, and he looked strong, but he didn't even get an entrance. And to me, they should have made this match on the actual TakeOver show, not the pre-show. Have Parker, come out, demand a match. Have Regal come out and announce, okay, you want a match, you got it. And then Corbin's music hits, and Parker kind of gets this look on his face like he's worried, he's pitching a fit, he's in protest. To me, that would have got him more over as a heel and made Corbin's debut more impactful. It's just my opinion. The match lasted a whole 29 seconds, and it ended when Corbin hit the end of days for the pin. This match didn't get a rating from Meltzer, but I'll give it one. It's a dud. Terrible. After the match, we get a video package from Tyson Kidd hyping the main event, and then we see a barber's chair set up, so our hair versus hair match is next. Sylvester Lefort is out first with Marcus Louis accompanying him. Then they show the video from Enzo and Cass visiting Carmella at the salon and, getting the hair removal cream before Enzo and Cass make their way out. Enzo cuts one of his classic promos. He's so good on the mic. I would love to see him get another WWE run or even an AEW run. Just something where he's on television weekly because, like I said, he's a heck of a promo, and his in-ring work has gotten a lot better than what we saw here. Because at this point, Enzo really just wasn't polished enough for a singles match like this, and it was a very ho-hum affair. This match honestly would have worked a lot better as a tag match with all four men involved. The match ends when Big Cass knocks Marcus Louis off the apron and then clotheslines him. This distracts Lefort in the ring. Enzo hits a roll-up, gets the pin, just over 5.5 minutes and a star and a quarter from Dave. After the match, Lefort was set to have his head shaved, but he's able to escape and run away, so Enzo and Cass beat up Marcus Louis and dumped a bucket of hair removal cream on him instead. Some fun stuff there. Next, we see a video package for Tyler Breeze in anticipation of our main event. Then General Manager William Regal makes his way to the ring and introduces the newest NXT superstar, Kenta. He mentions that he's going to go by a new name. He's going to be Hideo Itami. And I'll say it, he spent 5 years with the WWE. What a failed experiment. They really dropped the ball with him. I mean, he did have his share of injuries that set him back, but it was just a huge disappointment how they handled him. During this promo, though, the Ascension came out and they attacked him and tossed him to the floor. They demanded a rematch for the tag titles from Regal, but Itami would get back in the ring and take them both out. So they did do a good job here of making him look like a force on his first night. So that was good, but just everything after that seemed like it was snake bit. Couldn't get off the ground and super disappointing. Bull Dempsey's out next. He's followed by his opponent, Mojo Rawley. Mojo charges the ring, but Bull meets him with a beating. Mojo turns the tables briefly, but then again, everything in this match was brief. It barely lasted a minute. Dempsey hits a diving headbutt and gets the win in 1 minute and 10 seconds. This one, just like the Baron Corbin, CJ Parker match, no rating from Meltzer, but I'll give it a half a star. I mean, it did a good job of making Bull look like a force, but it completely squashed Mojo, who didn't look good anyway. No moves, just strikes and tackles in this one, and a quick finish. You have to wonder if another segment went long or something, causing this one to be cut short, because Mojo had not been booked to look this week prior to this match. So either something went long and they had to cut time, or he really pissed someone off backstage. Honestly, you could have gave that 30 seconds that you gave Baron Corbin and CJ Parker, gave it to these guys, let them add at least another 30 seconds, because it just wasn't enough. After the match, we see Enzo and Cass outside behind the building. They're looking for the Legionnaires because Enzo said that seeing is believing. He won the match. He wants to see them bald. They finally find the French team, and Lefort takes off running, leaving Marcus Louis high and dry again. And Cass carries Louis out to the ring, and Enzo removes the towel from Marcus's head to reveal his mostly bald head with a few hair patches. Louis retreats from the back, to the back, and Enzo grabs a mic and says that he has a new word to describe him. B-A-W-L-D, bald. This is another entertaining segment from Enzo and Cass to put them over. Next up, we get a video package showing the path to the women's title match before Bayley makes her way to the ring. While I wasn't really a fan of this gimmick for Bayley, the dorky kid at heart living out her dream gimmick that she did, I did like her entrance. The wacky waving, inflatable arm flailing tube man entourage was a nice touch. Next out is the NXT Women's Champion Charlotte. Good back and forth in this match early on, with Bayley having flurries of offense, but Charlotte always regaining control. We got a fun spot where Bayley had Charlotte up on the top turnbuckle and then slapped Charlotte in the face before delivering a Hurricane Rana for a huge pop from the crowd. Then Charlotte did a beautiful moonsault, but her feet hit first, so it looked like she barely touched Bayley with it. That was kind of disappointing. It looked like she landed on her feet and then kind of laid on Bayley. So go watch the match, you'll see what I'm talking about. Bayley was able to kick out, so Charlotte hit natural selection immediately after for the 1-2-3 to retain the title. Match went 10 minutes, 40 seconds. Uncle Dave gave it 2 3/4 stars. I'd say that's probably about right. Wasn't bad. Pretty good match. After the match, Sasha Banks came out. She came to the ring and attacked Bayley while she was still laying on the mat. Charlotte returned to the ring, pulled Sasha off Bayley, and sent Sasha back to the back. And Sasha, of course, would go on to face Charlotte at the next TakeOver in December. After that, we see a video package for our last contestant in the main event, Sami Zayn. And now it's time for the match. Tyler Breeze gets first entrance, and I love this gimmick. The whole Zoolander/influencer gimmick, it was great. He had a cell phone in hand, live streaming it to the big screen, just awesome. Sami Zayn is next, and he gets a nice pop. Sami is so underrated in the grand scheme of wrestling. Like, I get it, he's super over right now, but he's just always been a favorite of mine, going back to his El Generico days. Big Sami Zayn fan here. As Tyson Kidd makes his entrance third, we get a flashback to the previous episode of Monday Night Raw from earlier in the week, where Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville defeated Tyson Kidd and Tyler Breeze in a tag match. This was done to promote TakeOver on Raw, so that was a nice touch from WWE to do that. The champ gets last entrance, and once Neville is in the ring, JoJo announces the match stakes and the contestants. Then, buckle up. This match is awesome. At one point, Sami grabs Tyler's cell phone and records himself hitting Breeze before tossing the phone back in the ring. That got a good pop. The four fight up the ramp, and then Breeze and Kidd double suplex Neville on the stage and then double suplex Sami on the steel ramp. All four guys had their moments looking like the favorite and looking like they were going to win the match, which is crucial for a good fatal four-way. Great storytelling there. There was a lull when Kidd had Sami in a rear chin lock in the ring, and Breeze and Neville were both laid out on the floor. That kind of slow spot really stands out in a match with four guys, but it's broken up, and then the action is fast-paced again, and it results in Neville doing a moonsault off the top rope onto Breeze and Kidd on the floor. There was a bit of a botch after that where Neville went for a handspring elbow in the ring, and Zayn was supposed to catch him and counter it, but he dropped him. It wasn't terrible, though. Sami just kind of dropped him and went for a pinfall, so you don't really notice it. Then Neville was up on the top turnbuckle, and Zayn was charging at Tyson Kidd, but Kidd launched him into Neville, knocking him to the floor. Breeze then hit the booty shot on Sami and the supermodel kick on Tyson Kidd, and then drop kicked Neville, who was jumping off the top turnbuckle, but it was unable to get a pin. He tried on two different guys. Breeze and Kidd went to deliver a double superplex to Neville, but Sami ran in and did the powerbomb combo spot. I don't know. That spot looks cool, but really, how practical is it? Does it do any more damage to the guys doing the superplex than the actual superplex does? Yes, that's a nitpick. I get it, but I have to say it. I've just never really cared for that spot. It's kind of a pointless thing that you just do because it looks cool. Neville hits a shooting star press on Sami, and then Breeze tosses Neville to the floor and goes for the pin, but Zayn kicks out at 2. It looked like Breeze had it 1 there. Breeze attempted another beauty shot, but it was countered into a sharpshooter by Tyson Kidd. And as Breeze looked like he was about to tap out, Neville rolled in and grabbed Breeze's arm, preventing the submission, and Sami broke up the hold. Sami then had a nice flurry of offense, first hitting an exploder suplex on Kidd in the corner, then doing a suicide dive on Neville, which set him over the guardrail into the crowd, and then did the tornado DDT where he jumps through the bottom and middle rope to Breeze. The crowd was fired up, and then he hit the haluva kick on Kidd, but Neville pulled the ref out of the ring before he could count to 3. Sami got out of the ring to confront Neville about that, but ate a super kick for his trouble. Then Neville hit the red arrow off the top rope for the pinfall. 24 minutes, 12 seconds, 4.5 stars in the Observer. Awesome match. This show went 2 hours, and it was right about 2 hours, and it had 49 minutes and 57 seconds of ring action, so right at 50 minutes, almost half. That's not a bad ratio considering you also had ads, you had everyone's entrances, you had promos, so a decent ratio of in-ring action and out-of-ring action. So let's get the superlatives out of the way for this show. The RVD 5-star moment to me has to be the main event, specifically Sami Zayn's flurry of offense there. It was just, he was on fire. He was super over. The fans were behind it. It was great. Shockmaster moment for this show has to be the CJ Parker and Baron Corbin match for me. It was just a waste for both guys. It got Corbin over. I mean, he was the #1 trend on Twitter after that match, but it would have had a bigger impact to me had the match had literally any build at all and been made on the spot during the actual show, not the pre-show. It just, Baron Corbin already being in the ring, little things like that go a long way. My grade for this one is tough. It's a super solid show, but you have to remember that NXT was a developmental, and a lot of people on this card were still pretty green, at least in terms of what we expect on a WWE show. The main event carried it, although the undercard was still good enough. I'm going to give this show a B+. Definitely seen worse, but definitely seen better. Next show, it's October, right? So I have to do Halloween Havoc. I'm going to do 2 episodes on Halloween Havoc. The second one is going to be what you're expecting when I say Halloween Havoc. But for the first one, I'm going to visit the more modern incarnation. I'm going to stay in NXT for back-to-back shows. We're going to do the first NXT Halloween Havoc that took place in 2020. This card had some interesting stuff on it, including a Devil's Playground match between Damian Priest and Johnny Gargano for the North American title. It had a Haunted House of Terror match between Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes. And it had a Tables, Ladders, and Scares match. That's right, Tables, Ladders, and Scares match between Io Shirai and Candice LeRae for the NXT Women's title. Be on the lookout for that show in 2 weeks. Thank you all for joining me again. Shorter episode this week, but it was a shorter card. I want to encourage you all to follow me on Twitter. I had to make a new Twitter account. I got locked out of the old one. I was able to save the name, so it's still at @LoreOfTheRing_. But if you follow the old account, doesn't mean you follow the new one. So it is a new account. Go give me a follow on there. Be sure to tell your friends, tell all the Marks and Jabronis you know about this show. Continue to help me grow it. Continue to chime in with me on social media. Like I said, the pod is at @LoreOfTheRing_. My personal Twitter is at @DMFrank_. I'll be on the lookout. I love interacting with you all. Love all the support and feedback. The feedback I love, good or bad, because the bad helps me grow. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. With that, NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way is down for the 3 count. So long from the Volunteer State.